Welcome to our class worship this week. I'm really sorry Reverend Mulrine and myself are unable to come into school at the moment, but instead I've made my worship that I was going to share with you last Thursday into a video for you to use in your class worship. And we're going to spend a bit of time this morning thinking about what happens when we give to others. And we're going to use a story from the Bible to help us do that. And if you'd like to find it in your Bibles a bit later on, you can find it in the book of Matthew, and it's chapter 14 and verses 13 to 21. This is what it says. Jesus had been teaching other people about God. And one day he wanted a bit of time just with his disciples, his very close group of friends, to spend just together, away from the crowds, just by themselves and with God. So they got into a boat and headed for the other side of the lake. But lots of the people that Jesus had been teaching saw him, and they ran round the lake so that when he arrived on the other side, there was a huge crowd of people there waiting for him. And instead of being a bit annoyed by this, which to be honest, I probably would have been a bit annoyed if it was me, but Jesus isn't me, is he? He's much better than me. Instead of feeling annoyed, the Bible tells us that he loved these people, and he carried on teaching them about God. If they were poorly, he made them well again, and he just made them feel really, really welcome. And the day passed, and soon evening was on its way. So his disciples came to Jesus and said to them, "You need to send everyone away now. No one's eaten all day, and they need to go and find something to eat because it's getting late." But Jesus said to the disciples, "You give them something to eat." So Philip, who was one of the disciples, said, "But Jesus, it would take 6 months of our wages to feed all of these people here." The wages is the money that we get paid for the work that we do. And there were more than 5,000 people altogether where Jesus was. So it would have cost an awful lot of money to have fed them. But then another disciple, Andrew, came with a boy who had brought some lunch with him. He had 5 pieces of bread and 2 fish. So Jesus took the bread and he looked up to heaven and he said thank you to God for it, and then he broke it into pieces. Then he did the same thing with the fish and then gave it to his disciples to give out to the people. And the Bible tells us that everyone ate and had enough. In fact, they had more than enough, because when the disciples picked up what was left, there were 12 whole baskets full. Now, let's think together for a minute. What do you think the boy giving his lunch to them did for the people that had followed Jesus that day? Pause the video for a few moments and discuss what you think in your classes. There are 4 more questions coming up for you to think about in your classes in a moment. When they do, pause the video after each one so that you can share your ideas. Now, I wonder if you know who this is. His name is St. Francis, and he was a rich man who lived in Italy many, many years ago, and he gave up all his riches to become poor and to tell people about God. And he especially he's especially well known for caring for birds and animals and all other aspects of nature. So if you ever see a picture a bit like this of a monk with birds or animals around him, there's a high chance that it could be St. Francis. And St. Francis wrote a prayer that has become very famous over the years. And one of the things he said in his prayer was this: "It is in giving that we receive." Now, I wonder if you think you know what that means. So if, like St. Francis said, we receive something ourselves when we give to others, what do you think the boy may have received as he shared his lunch? And what about ourselves? What are some of the things that we might receive as we give to others? And remember, giving doesn't always have to involve something physical. We thought about that a little bit in our harvest services a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And thinking about the shoebox project more specifically, if you choose to be involved in that, what are some of the things that you might receive as you give to those children? And although we don't give people things so that we get something back, it's just something that happens anyway if we take time to stop and think about it. It makes giving something to someone else doubly good, doesn't it? They get something, and so do we. So let's just reflect on that for a few minutes. What might we receive when we give to others? I'm just going to finish with a short prayer, and if you'd like to join in, you can say Amen at the end, which means I agree. Dear God, thank you for the way the boy gave his lunch away. Help us all be willing and generous in the way we give to others, and help us to think about what we receive too each time we do this. Amen. Now, if you would like to be involved in our shoebox project, there's still time. It's not too late. Now, hopefully, all of your parents at home should have received an electronic copy of a letter about the shoebox project. So if you want to be involved in it, it's not too late. On that letter, it does say that the last day for bringing things in is Friday, the 22nd of October, which is Friday this week, the day we break up for half term. But actually, I think if you really want to be involved and you want to collect some things together from the list of things that we're allowed to put in the shoe boxes, which I'll show you in just a minute, then you can bring those in right up until Wednesday, the 3rd of November, and we'll send those to Year 4, and Year 4 will be in charge of packing those things and making the shoe boxes up for us. So if you've already brought items in for the shoe boxes, or if you're planning to, thank you very, very much. And I really hope you have received something back from doing that, as well as being really generous givers as well. On the next slide is just a reminder of the things that we definitely are allowed to put in the shoe boxes. Well, it's time for me to say goodbye now. I hope you have a really good rest of the week, and I hope you have a really good break over half term too. And I'll look forward to seeing you back in school soon, I hope. Bye bye.